Alright guys, welcome to spooky season. When I say welcome, I mean we're already halfway through the month, but it is one of my favorite seasons. I love horror movies. I love just the vibe of fall, and just the weather is cooling down. Everything is getting better in my mind. So I really like to rank horror movies, but I don't do it too often. I do them every few months. But one series that my wife and I finally completely watched was the VHS series. And funny story, and I'll get to it when I start ranking one, is these are all the main ones. I know they're supposedly spin-offs or whatever, but whatever. We're just ranking all of the 8 films, and let's just jump into it because we got a lot to go through, and I don't want to spend too much time on the opening, so let's get right into it. So VHS 1 is kind of a fun film for me in that it came out in 2012. If you don't know, I met my wife in 2012, so it's really kind of cool that we watched this together as one of our first like horror movies. So it does have some like nostalgia for me, even though it doesn't feel like it's that old. We're talking about almost 15 years old now. So I really enjoyed this movie for what it was at the time. Rewatching this, it's rough. So tape 56 is absolutely the worst thing. So it's the wraparound, it's the beginning, it's the thing that you cut through each segment, and I gotta be honest, it's bad. It's badly acted, it's badly filmed, it's stupid, it's dumb. It's probably one of my least liked segment breakers out of the few, and it's just that I just didn't like it, and the ending is so cliche. So that one didn't do much for me. And actually another one that surprised me that I didn't like as much this time was the 1031, I believe. It's actually done by the guys who did the recent Scream, which I do like, but I didn't like this one that much this time around. I was kind of just bored. And then I do like some of the other ones. The one with the Emily character I thought was pretty good, but I was getting a little bored in the middle. Luckily, the ending, I think, saves out from being terrible. And then the last one, which I can't remember, I thought it was okay. So those 3 are the kind of the weakest, starting with, I think, tape 56 is just horrible, and then progressively gets more decent as it goes up. But 2 I actually do enjoy, and I think one that always will stick out is the first one, because Amateur Night does basically the strength of found footage. So when you watch a found footage film, you want to know what the fuck is happening and what happened that someone recorded this and then now it's found footage. So I think the idea of bringing this girl back to the room and her turning out to be this flying succubus creature monster with wings is just horrifying. By the way, these are spoilers, obviously. If you haven't watched these movies, please watch them before watching this video. So I really enjoyed this one. It is cheesy at times. It has some really bad acting at times, but overall, it's a good time. And then my favorite one of this bunch is Second Honeymoon, and I think it's because it's just dark. It's depressing, and I think it has a great ending that actually shocked me when I first watched it, and then as I was watching it, there are clues, so then I was like, oh, I remember what happened 13 years ago. But yeah, overall, Second Honeymoon's my favorite. So I think this one is good. I think it's interesting that it was able to stand the test of time in some ways, but in some ways I'm like, wow, a lot of these are not great, at least in my opinion. But I think it deserves, just for the 2 segments I did like quite a bit, and I think they both hold up. That's saying something. So I'm gonna put that in kills a couple of hours, because I think it's a good enough time that you should stream it and enjoy it. Now VHS 2, I think for the majority of people out there who watch these films, I see this one usually ranked pretty high, and I wanted to rewatch it to refresh myself, and I did, and let's talk about it. So the stuff I don't like, again, I think the wraparound, the tape 47 or 49, whatever it's called, is again stupid. I don't like it. I don't think the wraparounds are actually any good in any of the first 3, just to get that out there. I think they get better as the series progresses. They're never my favorite, but they get better. But I also think this has a really weak start. I don't really like Phase I Clinical Trials, I think it was called. Not one I enjoyed. Adam Wingard, I think, is actually a pretty solid director. I like his style, but I think this one felt really weak. The first person view of, like, he has the eye implanted him, so you get that point of view is kind of cool. But the story itself, the multiple sex scenes. I'm no prude. I love sex. It just felt really cheaply made. Yeah, this one, the hook, the big thing where he can see ghosts through his eye because of his implant, just never really felt like it was fully realized. It almost felt like a weak Black Mirror episode. So yeah, this one didn't do anything for me. And then the next segment is A Riot in the Park. And again, zombies aren't always my favorite. I think they're oversaturated at this point, or overdone, whatever the right word is. I can't pronounce or say things. But yeah, this one, again, didn't do much for me. I think the biggest problem with this is I don't really like bicycling, and I don't like that point of view where it's the shaky cam on top of a helmet, the GoPro style. And yeah, the idea with the zombies being the threat and running away from them in first person is kind of cool. But again, it didn't do much for me. Then we get to the last two segments, and they're a bit longer, and they're by far the best of this product. So you got Safe Haven and Slumber Party Alien Abduction. So my wife did not like Safe Haven, which really surprised me because it was like balls to the walls craziness about a third of the way in. So this guy's investigating. He has his documentary he's filming. He goes into this creepy building, and then just shit goes crazy. I personally think it's a good segment. I think it's fun. I think it's over the top in the right ways. There's a moment of exploding bodies that's absolutely disgusting, but in the good way. I like it, but I can understand why someone like my wife, who likes more creepy horror and stuff, might not enjoy this style. On the flip side, Slumber Party Alien Abduction is my favorite segment of this. I think some of my favorite VHS segments are the ones that strike the balance between funny and scary, but also just having fun making it. You can tell that they had this 15 to 20 minute time frame, and they're going to make the best of it. And I think this one is just one of the most enjoyable ones. I like this, and I thought it was a strong way to end the movie, in that the Safe Haven was just a lot crazier and insane and bloody, and this wasn't nearly as bad. So I think it's good. I really enjoyed it. But as a whole, where do I put like VHS 2? Well, I gotta be honest, rewatching these two back to back, I think I liked VH1 a little bit more. I think the highs of VH1 are better than VHS2. Now, I will say the good thing about VHS2 is I don't think any segment is absolutely dog shit other than the wraparound. I think kind of sucks, but everything else is at least decent to great. So there's that, whereas I really do think there's one segment in the first one that is really bad. So it's kind of hard, but I think just watching them back to back 2 days ago, I think I actually like VH1 a little bit more, but they're both good for like kills a couple hours, stream it. It's not too bad. All right, so now we're on to VHS Viral, and I'm going to be honest, I couldn't even finish this the second time. Like, I literally could not. So I was watching VHS 1, 2, and Viral together, because those are the ones I watched years ago with my wife, and my God, the second time I watched this was absolutely horrendous. There's literally only one good segment, and that's Parallel Monsters. This is the only one where I think it combines all the elements I like. It has some really funny parts, some really nasty parts, some decent scary parts that I definitely think people, when they visually see it, talking about a semi-sleeping scene that turns into a horrifying, oh my God, it's pretty fucking good. But just because that's good, not great, good, all the other segments in this are horrendous. They're horrendous. I stopped at the fourth or third, I can't remember, but Dante's whatever. Oh my God, the stupidest fucking one. Maybe one of the worst, if not the worst segment in all of these, I think. So yeah, Viral. You know, some people are like, oh, you're too harsh on it. Oh, it has one of the best segments. Listen, if Parallel Monsters is one of the best segments, no problem. I have no problem with that opinion. But the rest suck. And even if you don't think the rest suck, it's definitely weaker than almost all the other VHS movies. So yeah, this is a throwaway. This is a don't watch. Just skip it because it sucks. All right, so VH94 is kind of funny. So I watched this last year with my wife, and then I watched 99 all the way to Halloween, literally this last week and a half. And so 94 is kind of cool because it's jumping, years later. So the last time I watched these films was in like 2014 or whatever Viral came out. So I hadn't watched anything. I didn't even watch when 94 came out, not till last year. So 2024. So that's a 10-year gap. So it's kind of cool to get back into these. And I think 94 is a great way to get back into these. So the worst thing about this is the wraparound. It's not even that horrible. I think it's just kind of boring. It's a SWAT team going into this building trying to find clues of what happened, and it's just not that interesting. It feels like Fear, if you guys ever played the game Fear, but not fun. Now, one of my favorite ones is Storm Drain. So Storm Drain is the campiness that I love. So this reporter goes into a storm drain to find out what's happening. Who's this rat man? And I don't even know how to explain this. It's like a spiritual crazy monster cult fucking movie all combined. I don't even want to spoil it because this is a really fun one to watch blind. I did, and my wife did. Now, my wife didn't enjoy it as much as I did because I love the cheap, campy feel of like 80s horror movies. So I really enjoyed this one. It was a nice throwback. But just take that one away. I think there's other good segments here. I think The Empty Wake is a really creepy one. So I don't think it's scary. I think it's creepy. It's this girl, Haley, who kind of has to stay at this funeral home, and there's a storm outside, but there's going to be a funeral, so she's waiting. It's just like creepy. You get phone calls, you get things falling over. The ending is absolutely fucking insane. I really enjoyed this slow burn one. I think the atmosphere was great, and it's one of my favorite in this collection. Those two are my favorite. You then get The Subject, which is another good one. It feels like Frankenstein, but more futuristic. It has some really nasty kills, and overall I thought this was really good. So at this point in the stage, I think VHS 94 was one of my favorite. But then you get Terror, and Terror isn't bad, but Terror feels like a step down from the three before it. It takes itself very serious. It can be really boring the first half. And it's a cool idea. Basically, this KKK group finds a vampire and they torture him. And the idea is cool, but the execution is severely lacking. It doesn't help that the acting isn't that strong. And overall, I just thought this segment was kind of a bummer to leave off on. And then we follow up with the ending to the Holy Hell wraparound, and that shit sucked. So yeah, overall, I felt a little bit bummed. Like, this was absolutely terrifying almost. But then I have to knock it down because it didn't fully hit it for me. So I'm going to have to put it in a bloody good time because I think that's where it should land. Alright, so we're on to VHS 99. And this one is crazy because my wife and I have such opposite opinions on this one. And I really want to just talk about it. And what I like about this is the wraparound's not here now. It's like these little toy soldiers. It's like really cheesy, like action, somewhat horror moments. But I like that there's no wraparound. We just really get right into the segments, which we're all here for. And let me just say, I think the opening is bad. I think it's a legitimately bad segment. I really dislike it. It's called Shredding. It's about a group of like punk rockers, and they go into this old building where apparently another band played years ago and died and got trampled to death. They start messing around, and then of course these ghosts slash zombie like vision creature things that are really there but maybe not, who knows, come and they start murdering them. I thought it was really bad. I thought the acting was really bad, and I thought the characters were awful. I didn't like anyone, which I think is a problem. When you don't like anyone in horror, that is a problem in a horror movie. And yeah, this one really sucked. So I was really worried at first. This one, my wife and I both agreed, sucked. But then Suicide Bid came up, and I gotta say, the opening to this was great. The middle, where the girl is trapped in a coffin and buried alive by these pieces of shit, is amazing. The slow drowning while in a coffin is probably one of my scariest fears in life, of just drowning or being stuck somewhere and slowly dying. So all of that was so fucking good. So this one was like climbing the ranks for me. And then the zombie creature thing popped into her coffin and ruined it. Just fucking ruined it. The last 3 to 4 minutes of this segment are so awful that the first half, or first almost three-fourths, is so good. It really was jarring. The quality drop for me. And my wife agreed too. So this is where we agreed so far. So overall, I still think it's a good segment. It's just it got ruined by the end and turned from almost great to good. So this is where we start having different opinions. So out comes Ozzy's Dungeon. So if you've grown up watching like Nickelodeon and stuff, there's this dungeon show where these kids have to go through like mazes and stuff, and in this they have to do that too, except something horrible happens and this poor girl's leg gets absolutely like bone ripped through it, and so the mother wants revenge and forces the host through some terrible obstacles. I thought this was really fun. I thought it was really like dark humor, just because of what we were going for and the over-the-topness. I love the mother character in this. I like the host. I think he's funny and an idiot. Yeah, I really like this segment. I can see why people don't. It's very goofy. My wife did not. She thought this was stupid. But for me, I had a good time. And the last two segments are the Gawkers and To Hell and Back. And basically our ratings for my wife and I are reversed. So I think the Gawkers, am I saying that right? The Gawkers is fun, but it didn't fully realize its potential. And so what it is that these kids are spying on their neighbor. She's hot. They put like a spy cam on her computer, and it turns out she's a monster. So it harkened back to the original VHS one with the first story. So I liked it, but I thought it could have done more. I thought we could have got more horrifying deaths. But I did like the twist on the monster, and you'll know who I'm talking about if you watch it. I don't want to spoil that because it's relatively new. And then on the flip side, To Hell and Back is basically these two guys are part of this ritual for these witches. They're probably thinking they're fucking stupid, but they're getting paid, and they get sent to hell. And this is fucking pure camp. It's so funny. I really liked it because it just had this vibe about it that made it cheesy, but also really fun. It had some really cool set designs. It does feel cheap at times, but I just had a blast. I think the ending is really dark and fucked up. So yeah, overall, I had a really good time with this one. My wife thought this was kind of stupid, but she also liked it, but didn't love it. So we kind of had different opinions. As a campy, fun horror movie, I had a good time with this one. But I will say that I don't think any of them blow my mind. You know, I think they're all fun. I think they're all good, except for shredding. That sucked. So the beginning's really bad, and I think Suicide Bid really drops the ball, but the others are all good. So I'm going to put it in Kills a couple of hours. I think that's where it belongs. But I'll put it ahead of VH1 and VHS too, because I actually had more fun watching this than rewatching these 2 days ago. Alright, so then we open up with VHS 85, and this one had some of my favorite segments of all the movies, and it also had some not so good. But what I really liked about 85 is that even the wraparound didn't suck. This was the first time I thought the wraparound was decent. It's about this creature, this copycatting creature, and the scientists are experimenting on it. I thought it was really interesting because we get like a build-up throughout each segment of it getting worse as they're experimenting. So I liked it. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's good. But really, this one starts off with a bang, and no pun intended. Basically, these guys go out into the lake, a bunch of friends, and then suddenly, boom, one of them gets shot, and then they all start getting murdered. And this is crazy. The twist is good. The characters are good. Honestly, I just thought all of this really worked for me. I really liked the opening. I thought that I think it's called No Wake, is wonderful, and the ending builds up the suspense of like, wait, are we just going to end it there? And it comes back later in a later segment. So really liked this. One of my favorite segments in all the movies. It hits all the marks that I look for in a horror movie. Unfortunately, the next two segments don't work for me. There's a segment where a building collapses and these people have to escape, and they go down and down and down to try to escape. Eventually they find this god. It's in Spanish, and I don't mind subtitles. My wife has trouble keeping up because she reads a bit slower, so she didn't enjoy this one. But even though I could keep up, I just didn't like this. I thought it was kind of boring. I just didn't like the characters. Yeah, this one really didn't work for me. And then the one after that was just as fucking boring for me. I really do not like the middle segment of this because it's basically like virtual reality. She calls upon this entity in this virtual world. It's stupid. It's fucking stupid. The fourth segment is a follow-up of the first segment, and it's a totally different family at first, so you don't know they're connected. This family is celebrating, looks like a Sweet 16. But then you find out these people are murderers, and this is an event that they're celebrating this young girl having her first kills, and the people that she killed are from the first segment. Now, the first segment's twist is that these people keep coming back. Not all of them, 4 out of the 6 keep coming back to life. And so this leads into a revenge tale. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really dark. I love the ending. It's very much almost feels like a Stephen King type twist, and I just really enjoyed it. So that segment brought me back into the movie. I really enjoyed it. And then we have with Dreamkill, and I like Dreamkill. First off, it's done by Scott Derrickson, so I'm already in. I like his work. And then it's actually a short story from Joe Hill's short story books. I just said short story, now I couldn't think of short story. Jesus, I'm losing my mind. But it's Joe Hill. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. He's done a lot of great stuff himself. Lock and Key is one of my favorite horror comics. So I was pretty excited when I didn't know he did this. I didn't know Scott Derrickson directed here. So after I watched, I'm like, this feels like a really good Stephen King style story. It's about a kid who sees visions in his dream, and then he was doing the VHS tapes and then started recording his visions, and what we're seeing is a serial killer murder people, but it hasn't happened yet. I thought the twist was a bit weak, but overall the vibe of it, the storytelling style kept me hooked, and the murders in this are absolutely brutal. My wife loves this segment. It's one of her favorite in the entire series. I really enjoyed it too. So I think this is a good one. I think unfortunately it has 2 really, really, really bad segments that bring it down. Otherwise, this again would have been an absolutely terrifying for me. But I gotta say, the 3 that are really good are some of my favorites. So I'm going to put it right next to VHS 94. They're almost even for me. So they belong right next to each other. So VHS Beyond is the one that came out last year. It's really recent. And both my wife and I were really surprised by this. I'd say the weakest thing is the wraparound, which is just kind of segments of like, if we find alien life form, throw it away. They suck. That's the worst part of it for me. But the very first story is basically these guys hunting because these children have been taking, these babies, and they go inside this home and they just start blasting away at these things, and they're not human. You can tell they're aliens or zombies or some type of monster, and it's just a monster killing segment, and it's fucking cool. It looks good. It's fun to watch. It's fast paced. There's a monster at the end. The practical effects look awesome. Loved it. The acting is not the best, I'll say that. But everything else was super fun in this segment. One of my favorite. Then we get to Dream Girl, which is very Terminator-like. It's good, and I definitely liked it more. Again, it's fully internet. It's an international segment, so in a different language, but it's really much better than the one prior in 85. And I also just really like the design of the creature in this, or Terminator looking woman, but the rest of it, it's not the best. I think the pacing is kind of boring at points, but some cool kill. Then we get to Live or Let Die, and this is crazy. So these guys are at for someone's birthday, are jumping out of a plane, so that sounds fun. But as they're getting ready to jump, they start seeing spaceships and fucking militaries like shooting. You're like, whoa, what the fuck? And then they have to jump out of the plane. And as they're jumping, there's aliens coming down with them. And so it's basically, think like The Quiet Place for 10 minutes. They land, some of them are dead, some of them are alive. They're running around, this alien's coming around, shredding people up and ripping them apart. So it's really fun. I think it could have done more with the concept because it just ends out a kind of okay way. But overall, it's a very fast-paced, really fun segment. Then we dive into Fur Babies, and this is absolutely one of the dumbest, but also one of the funnest segments in the entire series for me. It's basically this woman is like kidnapping these people and turning them to animals. And think almost like if you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, what the father did to his daughter, except her animals are used to murder people who come to her property. And it's the type of woman who's like the most obnoxious, Karen-like, my animals are more important than anything. Hate these type of people, so it was really fun to watch because she's a piece of shit villain in the best possible way. And then we save the last story, which is crazy. So Stowaway is one of the bleakest in this entire series for me. It's about a woman who's investigating spaceships, and she's trying to find like prove that she's that, but she's also like it's flashing back in her film to missing her child's growing up, and so she's not a great person. She's also really ridiculously dumb. Like, don't go inside a spaceship alone. But eventually she finds one. She goes inside, investigates, and the next 5 minutes are a whirlwind of darkness and bleakness that I wasn't prepared for, but I absolutely enjoy. I think it's dark. I think it's fucked up. The words that are said in here. Yeah, so this one turned out to be really goddamn good. Man, it's really close to being almost, you know, I like them all. I like them all. And I think they have some of the best segments in here. The bleakness of Stowaway, the fucking awesomeness of Stork, Let Live or Die is crazy heart-pounding action. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Absolutely terrifying. I think this is the strongest one so far. Well, we're about to get to VHS Halloween. But yeah, this is some good shit. It mixes all the different genres in horror that I like. So yeah, some good stuff here. All right, so now we're on to VHS Halloween. And I just saw this 3 days ago, I think. Maybe 3 or 4. And my wife and I really were surprised how much we enjoyed this one. I think it does have some segments that didn't fully gel with my wife or myself. I thought Kuchiku was cool, creepy, but not the greatest. It's the opening. I think the wraparound is really fucked up. It kind of reminds me of Halloween 3. It's about a person trying to create the perfect formula for soda, but the soda keeps killing people by having it like a demon entity in it. So it's fun. And then there's one where it's eyeballs. I don't want to talk about it, but it's fucking disgusting. So those segments are good, but not great for me. But they're all good enough. I think it gets better after that in a way. So I want to talk about the one segment that really pisses me off, but I also think is good because it's pushing the boundaries of what people feel comfortable. It's called Kid Print, and it's about kids going missing. And then as the story progresses, the twist isn't the most like, oh my god, I kind of figured it was one or the other, but the darkness of this story, the bleakness, the kids going missing, I have a child, it's like any parent's worst nightmare, unless you're a bad parent. So yeah, it was a hard watch for me. I thought it was very hard to watch. I'm not into seeing kids getting tortured, and it's a tough one. So this one is weird because I think if you don't get attached to it like me, it's really dark and you can like it. And I do like that it went there. But at the same time, it's not one of my favorite that I'll probably want to rewatch anytime soon. And then you get Fun Size, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's dumb. The acting is really bad, but I think it's all done on purpose. It's a dumb, fun horror movie segment that I actually enjoyed way more than I thought I would. And then the best one is the last one, by far. Home Haunt is what I love about VHS. It has some good humor, it has characters that I like, characters that I don't like, but I understand why they're like that, and you have the nastiest kills, some of them in this. It's a really fun haunted house segment. That's what it is, and it's one of my favorite segments in the series because it's bloody, it's nasty, it's funny. It, again, is everything I look for in a movie. So really enjoyed this segment. So where would I put this one? Again, like Beyond, I think I enjoyed everything. I didn't dislike or hate anything. Kid Print really pissed me off, but for the right reasons. But I think overall I like Beyond just a little bit more overall. But if I had to choose my favorite segment, it might be Home Haunt. But I'm not too sure. I'd have to think, oh no, you're staying in shit. I'm sorry. You're coming up here. But yeah, I really liked Halloween. It was very enjoyable. So that's my ranking. That's it. I'm not going to talk anymore because it's like 40 minutes probably. I don't know how long this is. Is it 40 minutes? It is 40 minutes. Of course, after my cuts, it'll probably be 30. But wow, this is long. But anyway, what are your opinions on this series? This series has been around for more than 13 years now. Or 13 years. And I think it'll keep coming out. They're easy to make. They're cheap to make. It also gives directors a little bit of fun to do a 20-minute segment, not a whole movie. But yeah, this is my ranking. It's probably different than yours. I think everybody have different. The fact that I have VHS 2 so low is probably going to be the big pushback from a lot of you guys watching, but that's just my opinion. Honestly, I think they're all worth watching with the exception of Viral. This is just how much I had the enjoyment of watching each one. But yeah, list yours below. And I hope you guys have a great Halloween season. And I'll see you guys next time.